the Risen Champions League podcast, which is pretty exciting because we don't usually do a ton of content about Champions League. I think in the past we have maybe like one article on our website about Champs League. It's just something that people like in the league haven't been really been interested in before and participating in. So I'm happy to have some people here who are interested in talking about the league and the different teams. So like I said, I'm Julia. I am the head of marketing and content for Risen, and then we'll just go down the line of people and they can say who they are and who they're with. So we'll
Hi,
start with Luis.
I'm mhm, I'm Luis. My name in game is Pichilote, and I am the manager and head coach and owner of First Blood Crusade and various teams that we're entering into different leagues. And yeah, this is my captain.
Uh, yeah, I'm Revy, captain for First Blood and Champs League. I'm a jungler, probably also known to me as, and yeah, that's about it.
And I'm Ryan. I am the current owner of Chosen Esports, a team that is currently playing in Champs League.
And obviously, best for last, I am Machuca. I'm the lead manager of Don Esports. I've helped build a couple of teams, including our main team that is currently competing in Rising Champions League.
Awesome, thanks guys. So a little, just like a very quick background. Risen Champions League um, in the past was a lot lower elo than it is this season. In the past, it was probably like D4, D3. It was more like our Dominate Pre-Made League that we started last season. But this season, almost all the teams are D2 plus. There's a couple of teams that are like D4, D3 average, but for the most part, they're D2 plus. Um, there is a prize pool. This is the only league, and this is the only league in Risen that has a prize pool. Um, and yeah, that's a really quick background about the league. So before we talk about all of the teams and players and what you guys think about them, we'll just do like a couple of really general questions just for people, maybe like any Rampage or Dominate people, like lower elo players who are watching that are interested, and maybe how you guys prepare each week. So like how do you guys prepare each week for competitive matches, I guess, in case we have people who are interested in maybe improving that aspect in Dominate or in Rampage Premade or Open? What is it like?
Well, for what I do for Don is mainly right now I'm focusing with our main team, obviously, trying to get them ahead in the Rising League. And what I do as a manager weekly, a couple days ahead, is I'll go into the Excel sheet and I'll just copy and paste the op.gg of the team that we're playing against that week, and I'll make a quick note for their roster, top to support, based on what they've been playing in the previous weeks. I'll just say like their top laner is whatever, and they are rank, and that kind of just helps for the players to see what we're going to be up against, and obviously our coach will take notes of that, and it'll help them with the draft. That's just a little bit that I've been doing.
Sorry, don't mind me. I'm just taking notes on the ins and outs of Dawn so we can beat them in finals.
It
Taking
doesn't matter. I
insider
mean, take
insider
as many notes as
secrets.
you want. We
No,
got the
for
rank 1 and 2 Lucian and then A.
ooh,
Ooh.
okay. Now for Chosen, it's we're really big on VOD reviews and like scrimming. So we have I have a team manager who is constantly picking up higher elo scrims. Chosen has actually been very lucky enough to scrim a couple LCS Academy teams, which I cannot name due to legality reasons. But so having higher elo scrims basically giving us more of a challenge to prep us for those harder matches that we'll sooner or later come across in Risen. And yeah, our coach is huge on VOD reviews, and I don't know, that's pretty much it. Lots of practice.
Who's your manager?
Ryan never stops.
Gotta take notes on how to get academy scrims.
I
Hit up
ain't
his
giving out my
manager.
secrets.
Hey, I know a couple people.
Luis, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I'll talk very briefly. So the way we've been practicing lately has been to just figuring out our scrim schedules and getting at least 2 to 3 times practices a week. And we've been coordinating with players not necessarily on what the meta is, but what they think are the best champions, and we go to try executing those in game. And Revi can talk a little bit more details about everything we want to work on. It's a new org. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean we're pretty fresh team, so we mainly just like work on synergy when we scrim, and like just work on communicating and just pretty much the fundamentals of.
Yeah, fundamentals of the game is very important. I think the players are individually stacked pretty well into most of the other teams. So, given that we're probably the new ones, we just have to work on our basics right now, and we'll more than likely be able to roll over a lot of the teams in here until we get to later in the rounds, and we'll probably see these guys, and we'll work in a little bit more details. But for now, that's how our practice is, very basic.
Awesome, and that's a good segue into the other question I was going to ask is, what are some like really general tips you have for people who are maybe already on a competitive 5v5 team or want to join Risen and compete competitively? Just super general, like basic things that maybe teams or players can work on that you work on.
I would say I think honestly the best thing is just like at least I found playing on 5v5 teams is like reviewing your games. So like I kind of stated before as the VOD review. Like no offense to like the dominate and like rampage players, but like nobody's perfect, right? Like you're not an insane player. You're, you know, plat, gold, silver, whatever you are. You're gonna make mistakes. So watch your games, you know, go over with your team or with the coach and, you know, kind of pinpoint the things that you can work on and, you know, practice that in scrims, flex, anything. Just, you know, you put work into it, you're going to naturally improve. So,
One thing that I think is really important is the longevity of a team, because the more time you have playing in a team, you kind of grow together and you mold into like a team identity. And this is something that I hope that Don will get better at with before we hit playoffs, because the more time you spend together, the closer you get, the better the synergy, the more chemistry, and you have your identity, you know, your win conditions. Because when you're in a new team, it's kind of hard because you have to figure things out. So one thing about that is team environment is really important, because that's what keeps the team sticking together and playing longer.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think something that's really going to be helpful towards lower teams, especially as they're developing, is not to focus too much on what the enemy team is doing and focus on themselves. Obviously, it's a pretty basic concept, but a lot of teams struggle with that, especially when going into champ selects. They like to target ban. They don't really think about their drafts going on beforehand. So a lot of the games that you're losing could be solved through having prep or work beforehand and knowing like these champions are the champions that we want to play, and we go into that mentality moving into the game rather than at the spur of the moment picking something new and then the team being super uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Just like you should always have your own game plan on what you want to execute in like either a game or a scrim set, and just like I mean, all like can't always like you can always work on like things like drafting and stuff like that, but you should always remind yourself to work on things like like just basics and stuff like that. Playing laning phases out or like communicating jungle pathings or power specs and stuff like that.
Oh, someone has a question. I will answer this question before we talk about the league. T2 Jazz. What are some methods these teams use to get morale back or recover after a loss streak? Could be in this league or in another league. Maybe if you played in other
Sorry, I can't
leagues.
relate.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
I think all three teams
Nah.
are
Maybe in other leagues. And it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
your champs roster. It could be like another roster that you've managed.
Something that I want to try is before and after scrims, and more importantly games, is just kind of talk about your strengths and weaknesses and just kind of roll with it. Like let the team let it out a little bit, not a straight up flame war. Just say this time we struggled with communication, so during the next week, let's focus on improving our communication and make sure that you're not just talking about the. Make sure that everyone's reminded before every scrim that that's something that we're working on, and hopefully by the next game, everyone can just be reminded this is what we've been working on, and I want to see it this game, and I want to see it happen better.
yeah, I think that the biggest thing is like, you know, team morale and stuff like that. You know, going back in the point that like Muka made, where if you have a better team environment where teams have played together for longer periods of time, it gets easier to not tilt as hard when you get behind because it's kind of like a more fun environment. And I know that's a big thing with Chosen Ragnarok is they've been playing for a long time. They've actually been under various different orgs too before Chosen ended up picking them up, and they just like to have fun. They take it seriously when they need to, and they don't take it seriously when they need to.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Where like you should definitely have moments where you guys play more as like friends instead of like there's a difference between playing like a serious game and like playing for fun together. Like it's definitely good to have good relationships with your teammates. It's also like good to have just kind of a team mentality where if you're getting like feedback or criticism on things that you can do better, not to take it like super personally or anything like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I actually really agree with that. Being able to take criticism is really important as an individual player, and it keeps the team morale boosted because if they know everyone is super motivated and interested and learning and from the criticism, that helps out with everyone else. Like it's good to know that you're not the only one putting in the extra work.
Yeah, something basic that to do is whenever you are in a loss streak is before criticizing each other and before floating into negativity. A good method is just to take a pause. Maybe like if it's at the end of a scrim set, you've lost like three in a row. Just take a couple days off. Relax. Don't talk about the games yet. You can the VOD review will still be able to be done like 2 days later and stuff. Just take a break if you need to. The game is pretty repetitive, right? You play it a ton to get really good, and so anything can affect your mentality, especially those losses. So
Mhm.
always relax when you need to.
I think it's also like good to add on that you should like players should know when to address people as like another player like when giving criticism. So sometimes like if you lose a game, it's not really good to just say like X player played like garbage or like didn't do anything, but instead just address it as a team thing where like we as a team didn't play well together and kind of keeping it as like a mentality where you as a group play together even if one person did weigh everyone down.
Mhm. Cool. So now that we've talked about some general tips for people watching, let's talk about Champs League. So what do you guys think about the competitions for this season? Machuca, I know Dawn has played and Risen in the past, so I don't know if you have perspective on how it feels this season compared to previous seasons. Um, and then we can talk more specifically about like groups and stuff and teams you people think are standing out. So any
Uh,
opinions on I don't know, this like the competition this season?
the current competition,
Hmm.
well, this is actually sort of my second season being with Don. I started with them like last winter season for UPL, but based on from what I've seen so far and this current Ryzen competition is I definitely feel a lot stronger with this roster that we brought in. Um, Chosen Esports is obviously a scary roster, especially with them playing together for longer. But I am seeing a couple of names that I've been seeing around in the amateur. Of course, there's Dramatic Rio, there's Impulse and STX. I forgot what their team is actually. Semantics
Semantics,
that I've
yeah.
seen, and a couple of others like Recon 5 and 16 bits that I've been seeing around. So it's actually kind of like nice to see these organizations coming out again and playing in the same things that we are, because it'll determine our or my own personal growth as a manager and helping out with these teams.
Hmm.
So for me, it's like a new season, new mindset, new goals, and my redemption, of course.
Yeah. Um, as like for chosen wise, I feel there is definitely a lot of good teams this season compared to the last. I've been kind of hanging around and risen since season 2, and I've watched champs develop from what is now dominate pre-made into the higher elo teams more competitive league, which I'm a big fan of. Um, being brutally honest, the only roster that scares me though this season is Dawn. But I still
You
think,
bet.
I'm sorry, I still think we can beat you just through our experience of playing
Let the
together.
players do the
So
talking.
yeah. we'll just have to meet in finals and see how it goes. But yeah, no, I mean there are definitely some strong teams. Unfortunately, there also is a couple quite weak teams. But there are a lot of names I recognize and a lot of names that I was excited to see that have joined into Risen to make this what should be a pretty tight season for the most part.
Luis, you want to go?
I was gonna say he just.
So me and Revi looked at the other teams all around, and we looked for individual players that would be standout players, and like obviously the team is what's going to determine it, but in terms of individual players, we really only saw strength in the Dawn roster that has potential as individuals, and it'll just have to be determined how the teams play. But for sure, these two teams actually, it's kind of funny that these three teams ended up because those are the teams that we looked at and we said, obviously they're doing well and their players are decent enough that they could challenge. So those are the two teams chosen in Dawn that we saw were decent.
Mhm.
As for the rest, TPG had an upset loss, I believe, against TD.
Yeah, they did.
So TPG is one that I looked at as potential. Retcon 5 is meh. I think B does some cheese stuff that I could see them doing some good stuff. So it'll be interesting to see there. And then Dramatic, I think, is a good team, decent team, and could make a team stumble in playoffs. So we'll have to see.
Well, okay, so let's go through each division then. So we'll just start Division 1. So, I mean, obviously Dawn, I can't imagine them, I mean, not getting out of the group first.
Me neither.
I think that's gonna happen. I think they're gonna get out of the group first. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. But out of the other three, I mean, Machuca, who do you think it's Dramatic that's gonna get it, or do you think D-Rose
I definitely
could
think
grab?
it's dramatic.
Okay.
They competed in UPL
Mhm.
last this winter season of UPL. We were also in the same group stage as them, and this was with our previous roster. So we played them a couple of times. We scrimmed them a couple of times, even after when we were in postseason of that. So they're definitely one of the teams that have been playing together longer that I know of, at least, and that's something that I see as a huge as a sorry it's something that they have over us because we are still of a new team. So I definitely think that a dramatic is a team that can get out of group stage, and then they can also. I think they'll do pretty well in playoffs as well if they can get a good bracket or a good
Mhm.
placement.
Yeah, it's funny
Yeah.
because Dramatic doesn't have like the highest. Well, they have a Grandmaster, but they don't have the highest ranked players like compared to some other teams. But they seem to just work really well together,
Yeah,
like as a team.
Yeah, I agree. Dramatic does have a lot of experience playing with each other, and they're definitely not a team to sleep on. I agree. Group 1 will, I think, is almost 3 weeks in already been decided. In my opinion, that it'll be Dawn and Dramatic, but we'll see if there's any upsets. Maybe Dawn will start to go on a bit of a slump.
you wish, huh?
I mean, I gotta pull for D-Rose too because they're the Risen team, but or they're like the staple. Like everyone
Uh,
knows them in Risen.
Yeah, what's season 4 champs?
Yeah, I think. But yeah, they have been champs in the past of Champions League. And then so Division 2, a couple of the teams haven't played their third week game yet, so we've got a couple that don't have 3 games. But this is one of the more interesting groups to me because obviously like Semantics and First Blood are very good, but I think Impulse, I don't know, they could pull off a possibly like second place, maybe first place upset
I-
to one of those
Impulse,
teams.
Impulse has a new roster, right?
Yep.
Mhm. I'm gonna say for group 2, I'm gonna give my opinion on it. I'm gonna be a little blunt with group 2.
Be blunt, be blunt.
It's a 3-team group there.
Yeah.
Fruition definitely has some strong rosters under their belt. Their champs roster is not one.
No,
But
it's their lower ranked one.
yeah, I'm gonna have to say though, it's probably, in my opinion, gonna be. I think Semantics is gonna make it through because Semantics has a strong roster. They played together.
Mhm.
And I think they're definitely going to play well. And I think it's going to be tight between Impulse and First Blood Crusaders. So I'm actually kind of excited to see how that goes. But I'm slightly leaning towards First Blood because my boy DTS in the mid lane. I believe in him. He can definitely carry some games. I would hope so. So I'm gonna have to say Semantics and First Blood is my predictions there.
Wait, did First Blood and Semantics play each other already? Who? Oh,
Yeah.
you guys went
Yeah.
2-1. Okay. Oh, that was first week. Okay.
Yeah, we're taking first in our group. No problem about it.
Yeah, I
I
think
like the confidence.
honestly, like Semantics is a good team and they did well in UCL. But
They did.
that was UCL. We upgraded our roster. Impulse has upgraded their roster. I think those two are the teams that are going to be making it out. Semantics
That's look good.
plays a pretty one-dimensional style, and it's super exploitable. And I think, especially right now with the way it's shaping up to be, and the fact that they already have a loss or two, is that once the teams find out what it is, I'm not going to say it because that'd be super disrespectful. But it's pretty. Just watch their games. It's pretty easy. They'll be coming third. DTS. The Impulse's roster has changed. I'll put it in the.
Has it changed again? I mean, as long as it's okay with Impulse. Yeah, I don't know.
Bestrin. I'm confirming with Bestrin, but their owner sent me this for their team that it's going to play this weekend. So I'm assuming that's their roster.
Let me see. I wanted to get onto my Twitch to open that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, seeing this group, like I'm pretty good friends with Andrew.
Can you paste that in Discord so I can open it up?
Yeah. I'll just post it in our chat. Champs podcast.
Wait, so who did they change? I know Lobo was like a.
Feels bad.
Good versus evil.
Good versus evil. I was gonna say that was not there. But Person was there. Lobo.
Yep,
Okay.
and then because Good versus Evil is there, Nutski's going to support.
Yeah. Yeah, Challenger jungler changes.
Yeah, so that
can change some things.
That jungler is not losing to Semantics.
Yeah, I was excited when Semantics joined because I enjoyed watching them in Upsurge, especially their top laner. He's a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, I think can definitely be stronger rosters.
I'm not sure how much
compared to them.
I'm like allowed to say, but I knew about Impulse's like changes. They're bringing in a lot of talent, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say like who exactly is coming to Impulse. But yeah, they've definitely they're an up and coming organization that everyone should be watching out for. But I was gonna give it to First Blood Crusade and Impulse because I definitely think Impulse will turn it around and they'll be able to at least take second place.
Yeah. And we're pretty new. Like Revy, we've been practicing for like 2 weeks.
Well, like a week before the start of the season, and then
and we're like, we've won both times, and I think one was a 2-1 and the other one was a 2-0. And the 2-0 was super messy, and we like pretty much just won through individual play. So I think as the season grows, we'll only continue to grow and we'll be unstoppable, honestly.
So Division 3, I think Division 2 and Division 3 are the most interesting groups. Though Division 4 is also interesting, but Division 3, I mean, obviously Chosen will come out first. I am assuming, unless there's like some big upset. But I don't know. I feel like B's cheese could potentially make them a dark horse in the group. Do others have opinions about?
I respect Honeybee Sports, honestly. I think Group 3 in the perspective from Chosen, I'll be surprised if we drop a single game in a series.
I would be surprised too.
One of our main goals is to 2-0 every single team in the season, and with this group, I would be surprised if that was not the case. But Honeybee Sports, I want to see them get second because they have some cheese stats, and I respect it. That's a funny team to watch for sure.
Yeah, they're another team that's been in champs for a while now, like has been in multiple seasons, so they're kind of near to my heart as well, and I would be happy to see them get out of Division 3. Roman, let me find Roman. NCSU, another one where it's not like their
Is
highest.
that
It's not
JV team.
it's not their main roster. It's like a
Okay.
I think it's hold on, let me see. I feel like it's like a mix of both. Because I know pretty sure Plucking Penguin is and Wolf Skull are on the main team.
He's
Or
on the main team.
Yeah.
so it's like I think it's a mix of two different teams from what I've seen. But it's not like their main roster
Oh, it
that
is.
it's not their main roster that like because they played last season and won, and I'm pretty sure that team last season was their main roster that won because it had Hani and some other people that are missing from here.
Wolf School Rider and Plug and Penguin are the starting top
Yeah.
and jungle.
But Hani's not here. There's a couple other people that aren't here that played last season in champs.
I think it's because they the college season is going into summer, so
Yeah, I imagine that can get kind of I guess awkward for some rosters when it's near the
yeah.
summer in college. And then this is wait, this is not. Let me find Roman. And this is a Roman's roster. I know they're pretty high ranked team.
Yeah, the thing
But
about
they're
Romans though,
is this a new team or are they?
it is a new team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they literally just put that team together, and you know, they have definitely some talent on that team, but you can kind of tell in the way that they play that they're a new roster for sure.
And I imagine that's just is even expounded even more when you're in a like very high elo league. It's even worse
Mhm.
to be a new roster compared
Yeah, it's
to
tough.
when teams have been playing together for a long time, like Semantics or like Chosen. And then let's see, this is NCSU. This is Chosen. We got the superstar Doxa in the mid lane. Turk, Shimatora, Gluten Free Panda karaoke.
Yeah, don't sleep on Turk.
A risen staple karaoke machine.
Yep. Yeah, don't sleep on Turk though. That's a superstar support right there.
Turk's a really good support. I enjoy watching
Yeah.
him play.
I think our bot lane is incredibly strong.
Mhm.
And a lot of people, you know, they see our team, they immediately think like Doxa, and they kind of get scared playing around the mid lane. But like our bot lane is like nothing to sleep on. It is very strong. Shima and Turek are a nasty duo, and Karaoke, of course, you know, he's been in Risen for a long time. He's a very confident laner, and when he plays well, he plays well. Um, and Panda, I mean, there's not much to say about Panda. He's out jungled almost every single jungle I've ever seen. So
A Chosen versus Don will definitely be a clash of the time.
yeah, oh for sure.
And then we got Honeybee. Yes, I mean like Honey like I think them and Fruition. I'm pretty sure them and Fruition were the two lowest ranked teams. I think Fruition might have been the lowest ranked team, though that might be different now because I know one of them hit Grandmaster. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Honeybee is like the most interesting roster to me. They always just have interesting team comps and just play interesting games. So I kind of want to see them get out too. And then we have the last group, Division 4, which is Team Dayton, Temporal, who used to be, I'm forgetting who they used to be. They had another name before. Recon 5 and then 16-bit. So this is another kind of close group. I feel like, I don't know, do you think any of these teams could get out, or are there teams you think are clear favorites?
I gotta call that the wild card
Yeah, I
division.
feel like this is the
Yeah.
wild card division.
I'm gonna have
After
to.
after TPG got upset by TD, I was like, oh, I don't know anymore.
Yeah,
Because
that.
TPG definitely looked like they were gonna be one of the teams similar to us, where they'd be like 2-0, 3-0 right by now. But
They're very high ranked. Like they have a lot
Yeah.
of high ranked, but I think they also have had they've had a few roster changes. Um, and I don't know if I think their bot lane changed at some point, like towards the beginning of the season. I don't know if that factored in to the loss. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
16
that
bit.
upset. That upset put a big monkey wrench in that group, and it still confuses me now to this day. Division 4 is most definitely a wild card. I I want to say that if any, well, the two teams that do make it out and into playoffs are not going to make it very far into playoffs.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna
if
ask that
they,
next. If you think like
yeah,
it's not is it a strong group or not? It's just kind of
Like,
a
it's definitely the weakest group. But hey, I've seen upsets, so I'm not gonna call anything too soon.
wasn't it 16-bit that beat Dayton? Not
yes, they 2-0'd them last week.
yeah. That's why I call it the wild card is because they did 16-bit did the exact same thing in when we had a team facing off each other in the UML, and they were like 0-3 or something like that the first week, and then all of a sudden they were second place, and then like upsetting in the playoffs as well.
Yeah,
It's crazy how some of these teams work.
And this is a group where a lot of the teams are kind of similarly ranked, besides like Temporal, who's higher ranked, but like Team Dayton, this is Team Dayton.
Wasn't that
Diamonds,
Recon 5?
no, no,
DR5.
this is Team Dayton, who has like Golden Kiwi, I think, and you, pretty sure. Let me make
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. This is Team Dayton. Is this Recon? Yes, this is Recon 5. It's another team that has like diamonds and then a master. 16-bit, who is I think is probably I think the second highest average in this group. Has a challenger, has master, and then Temporal. This is why it was interesting that they lost, is because they were the highest. Like I think they were the top four. Like when we averaged everything, they were one of the top four in terms of just elo. They were all like grandmaster, challenger.
Is
Um,
Temporal a new team or is have
no,
they been?
they used to have another name which I'm forgetting. Teams. I think they might have been Team Spicy Boys before.
Oh wait, I know them.
I feel like that was them, and if that's wrong, I apologize. But I think they used to be that team before
Okay.
Temporal Gaming. But I don't know if they still have the same players or not. It might be all new players.
I recognize some of the players.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why it was strange when Team Dayton beat them, because they're pretty much a like full Grandmaster challenger team, and Team Dayton is like mostly diamonds and like one master player, I think.
I like 16-bit because they also they're pretty big in the Super Smash Bros. Scene. So
Oh, are they? I didn't know that.
yeah, gotta cheer for my fellow Smash players.
That's cool.
I gotta give a quick shout out to 16-bit's manager Coke. I was talking to him once, and he told me that he does most of the management stuff for all of his players, including the Smash Bros. Players and the other games they play. And the craziest things that he has to go through is some of the players are even from Japan, so time zones and
Oh,
everything is just
Oh,
insane for him.
that man's a monster. Holy, hey,
Yeah,
good on
he's
him.
putting in work.
That's something I couldn't do. I have to bring in a lot of team managers just to handle the work. I'm lazy.
Yeah.
all right. So now that we've talked about some of the teams and groups, who are some of the players that stand out to you? And it doesn't have to be a player on like a team that's 3-0. It could be a player that's on a team that isn't doing so hot, but is still performing well. I don't know, like in each position, who are some players that you think either perform
Revy,
well here, like or in solo queue that you know of?
Revy, you're the only player. So
Oh yeah, I guess I am the only player that's played with these people. I think so. Looking at the list, CP Freeze, he's a pretty nasty player, but he mainly plays Vladimir. I'm pretty sure, but
Yeah. Yes,
he
he does.
he has a all right champion pool. T26, he's a pretty beast Thresh and Morgana player. I know that.
I'm
Black Dog
sleeping on
9,
Spike.
I've played with him before. He's pretty good. Um, Obviously Turk Doxa, pretty good. Who else on here? I think I think the jungle pool overall is pretty weak in this league. Um, there's only like two junglers that I think are like like above average.
Mhm.
Um, I think Rourke, he's pretty good on the meta junglers right now because he's like a mainly like a Jarvan player. I know that. And then who else? I mean Panda's pretty decent too. He's like all right at Rek'Sai, but he's pretty good on like Sejuani and other standard junglers. But it doesn't seem like a lot of the junglers in this league play like is it I'm pretty sure it's Norton who plays just like the weirdest pick.
Where is Norton? I know. What team is he on?
Right above, 2 above where you were hovering right now. Blue and Free Panda, 2 up, and then to the right.
Oh,
16
thank you.
bit.
Yeah, it's Norton. Wait, what does he play?
Jungle.
We've
But-
scrimmed
But
against
like,
him in,
what weird stuff does he play?
Oh,
like I mean I played versus AP Malphite in solo queue before
Oh.
in the jungle.
And we did play it in scrims. We
That
played it in
too.
scrims.
I mean definitely interesting, but I mean I guess he's challenger, but I don't know. I personally I don't consider challenger a really big goal right now. It seems like
Okay.
season 9 challenger is kind of a joke.
feels hard stuck plat.
It seems like the general
Um,
consensus on Twitter.
Yeah, speaking of challenge, it's so interesting this season because we're seeing a spike of people one tricking and two tricking champions into challenger. So usually when you see challenger, you're like, whoa, like that player is obviously good. But I notice a lot of the rosters I see they have challenger players, and I'm just like, man, this guy just abused one champion to get there. So it's a little interesting. But for my players that stick out, I'm big on my top laners, and I have to say, Kappa Face on Dawn. He is a very
Yes.
solid champ pool, honestly. And if I'm gonna be honest, I think he's probably one of the stronger players on the Dawn roster. Because he doesn't just abuse one single champion to get to. I think he's Grandmaster now, I believe.
He's challenger.
He's
26 up.
Challenger. Oh, he
Yep.
made it, my man. All right, he's Challenger. So there you go. He has a solid champ pool, and
Oh wait, he
plays a lot
dropped.
of
Sorry,
champs.
he dropped to
Let's see.
Grandmaster.
Yes, he is
All right, he's-
Grandmaster. Oh yeah. A little bit of a lost
yeah.
streak.
But he's a good player. I respect that. If you're able to hold a consistent champ pool, and able to flex a lot of picks like that and climb, that to me that shows that you're a very skillful player. Other than that, I mean, I like DTS. I've kind of watched DTS play for a good bit. He's a skillful player. He's not amazing, but he definitely has his moments, and when he pops off, he definitely pops off. Meister Chief, throwback to
Meister Chief.
to D Rose, my boy Meister Chief.
The Azir ADC. That's
Yeah.
that's Meister, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he plays the Azir ADC. Yeah.
I love his off meta picks. He's a pretty overall. I would say he's a decent player. He's always been pretty consistent. I have seen him get absolutely clapped in solo queue a few times though. So
Because my team didn't get repped, I'm gonna talk a little bit about them. I think I'm gonna throw down a gauntlet and say that, like, just off pure talent, I think Kangs is probably gonna be the best top laner in the 1v1 scenarios, especially with the way they're making the meta right now, where they just buffed some of the split pushers and buffed a little bit of the tanks. So tanks are gonna be blind picked, and then things like Fiora, Trundle, and stuff are gonna be picked into them. I think he's definitely gonna be a player that's gonna be highlighted as we move forward. Our bot lane, I think, is going to be super solid. Not something that's going to be wowed at, but something that's going to keep most teams down, especially the teams that are relying a lot on their bot lanes. Revi here is one, probably like he was talking about. There's not really a lot of highlighted junglers.
Mhm.
I think that he is going to be able to basically shove it down someone's throat.
I mean, I already have in some games, dude.
Yeah. And then just looking at overall the other teams. And we actually did pick up Drew Dozer, who is going to be
Yeah, I saw that.
switching in and out for DTS. So there's definitely some variety in our mid lane pool, and it'll be interesting to see there. I think Karaoke is someone that, and I've played on teams with him actually, and it's very interesting to see him here. The guy picks up champions super quick, and he'll be an interesting top laner to play against. And then just your guys' team, CP Freeze, I think, is someone. We already talked about. Was it Doxa? Doxa's pretty good. Your guys' bot lane's pretty good. So honestly, and then the AD carry for Semantics, that dude's pretty good. Was it Lolly Fanboy?
Yeah, he's fun to watch.
He's
Plays
really good.
He's a good Tristana.
Yeah, and if you want to watch some good old tank play in the top lane, you go to Mr. Uncle Derry.
Uncle Derry. I love-
Maokai first pick.
I love watching
Maokai
that guy
first pick
play.
every time.
He's so much fun to watch.
Mock my first pick every game if it's available.
I think he played
I
Nautilus on stream last week, or whenever we streamed him the week before.
It's been buffed, so I could imagine he probably may have switched to that now instead of Wild
Yeah,
Call.
I've been
Yeah.
seeing that. So I actually have quite a lot to say about a lot of the players, but first, I appreciate the glorification of my roster rather than my 280 carries. I mean, Kanki is an insane player. Known to have Holden rank 1 Lucian, and Ostrich has also been a previous rank 1 Lucian, and he even has a guide somewhere that has like over 100,000 views. Was even I think Wild Turtle gave him props for it.
Oh,
So I have to finish the rest of my roster, but I definitely know a lot of players, and I even know a couple players that were on previous Dawn rosters or even tried out for our current rosters. And I gotta say, it feels good to meet these players in scrims, and you know we win. So that's a pretty feels good. But I do have a lot of respect for every player in the amateur scene because I genuinely enjoy doing this kind of stuff and seeing rivalries built and players just going at it. But a couple of players that do stand out for me. Gluten Free Panda. He was previously on a Don roster, and what he can do is actually really scary. I mean, he can handedly, or at least from what I've seen, take an entire roster or entire game in his hands, play his own game, and just lead them to victory. And
I mean, I have seen Gluten Free Panda out jungle people with world stage experience. So
yeah, I bet. I mean, you better hope you could do that against Rourke. And also, I want to say, I don't know if it's pronounced Kyle or Sile, the 80 carry. He actually won All Stars of the UPL, so I definitely expect him to be playing just as good in Ryzen.
mhm.
Then, of course, a couple, not just players but managers. Uh, Luis here, going out of his way to like scout the teams and then trying to get scrims and trying to trying to find like more for his players. And then of course from Roman Legion, Olive Barden, I've he's come to me to talk and scrims and kind of just talk back and forth about what we do for our teams. So I also appreciate those kind of managers that will try to do more for their teams.
Yeah, always good to highlight the managers too, because they do so much behind the scenes that like other players and teams might not know about, or like even, or especially like viewers and fans might not know about.
Yeah, we're the ones that work in
Mhm.
the shadows for a team.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've been
we're-
talking. My team is a fairly new org. We only played an upsurge UCL last season. This season we've expanded to like 4 or 5 teams, and I'm still managing for most of them. Um, Looking to get a couple managers and stuff so that I can work on individual player coaching and stuff because I think that's something I'm more passionate about. But it's been a wild ride, and I've had a lot of luck with the players that have come into my org.
yeah.
Mhm.
All right, so before we end, any other comments before I ask the last question about teams or players? I don't think there's any questions.
Any questions in the chat?
Yeah, any questions? People, okay, so while I ask this last question, people can put questions if they want. So, if you could pick a team besides your own to win it all, who would you pick?
Obviously not chosen.
Oh, come on, man, dude! I was gonna be humble and I was gonna say Dawn, but like, no. 16-bit wins now.
Well,
It's over for
well,
you.
that's like
16-bit.
the obvious thing, for us to say. Oh, of course not Don. It's gonna be chosen, or vice versa. Like we
Yeah,
gotta take out those two at least. Have some fun.
fair enough. Fair enough. All right, I'm gonna say dramatic,
Dramatic. Okay,
if
I
anything.
could
Yeah.
see it. They play really well together. So
Yeah, it's probably just gonna be Don or Chosen. I'd probably say Don because CP Freeze is my boy.
Um, yeah. If we're throwing a wild horse, I'd say TPG if they get their stuff together.
mhm.
Um, and other than the generic Ston chosen,
Um,
pretty nice.
I definitely think Impulse has a shot with this new roster and new things that they're bringing into the organization.
Yeah, I was gonna make a comment on that too. I didn't realize all the changes that Impulse were gonna make, but like, I'm actually liking the looks of their
Another
roster.
another potential wild card.
Yeah,
It's
you see,
exciting
he's
for the
doing
second half.
They have to
work.
get out of our group first. So I mean,
Oh yeah, because they're in your wait. Yeah, they're in your group.
we'll
And
see them this weekend. We'll see
yeah, I
them
was
this
gonna say you
weekend.
guys play this weekend because you rescheduled.
I'm gonna be streaming the game, so
Oh, awesome. Okay.
I will link it to you so you can announce it or something.
Yeah, I have a rescheduled game that night, but I'm gonna watch at least
Link
the
it to
part
me
of
so
it.
I can take notes. Let me watch.
Scouting.
Scouting.
All right. Well, I don't think there's any questions in chat, so thanks so much, guys, for coming on and talking. Thank you to Luis, to Rev, to Ryan, and to Machuca for coming on and talking about champs. It was a lot of fun, and we'll definitely do this again. Maybe before, if not before playoffs, definitely during playoffs. We can talk again about the teams and who's made it in.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, more
Awesome.
love to Champs League.
Well, thanks so much for watching, guys. And we're gonna do Dominate Open and Premade tomorrow. So tune in if you want to. It'll be at 7 EST again. So thanks so much. Thanks, guys.